In this video, I'm going to demonstrate some techniques that are useful in obtaining the orange Peril ring from the Dark Tomb, which gives you increased damage when you are at low health. There are timestamps on screen and in the video description for the different sections of this video. For this video, I'll assume you have not completed the gauntlet and do not have the lantern. If you're starting at speedrunning Tunic, obtaining the lantern is possible to make this easier. If you are familiar enough with the route, you may be able to perform it without needing to see your fox at all, but there are tricks to see where you are in the dark. Rolling is useful to get you away from enemies, and the dust particles are visible in darkness. If you deplete your stamina, particles will appear over your head that are visible in darkness. These will remain until your stamina recharges. If you keep running, this will take a while. I've seen people use this method, but be aware that you will take more damage while you're in this state, so be careful. Slashing your sword creates a visual effect that is visible in darkness. I find it harder to see than the dust from rolling, but it is an option. If you use the grapple, your fox will hold it in their hand until you use a different item. The held grapple is visible in the dark. The first challenge is reaching the chamber through the maze of spikes. There are multiple ways to do this. You can avoid most of the spikes by hugging the walls. I usually stay in the middle of the corridor until I see the first enemy on screen, then I move left for a few seconds to ensure I'm against the wall. This will get you past most of the spikes, but there is one spike tile in your way even if you stay against the wall. You'll either need a way of crossing that spike tile safely, or you'll need to find a way of going around it. I'll show some examples of both methods. In either case, you'll need to find a cue to know when you have reached the spike, because you won't be able to see it coming. I use the position of the enemies on screen to help me tell when I need to avoid the spikes. If you want to avoid the spike, you'll need to move back to the center of the corridor to pass the remaining spikes. There isn't much room, so I'll demonstrate a few setups that can move your fox reliably back to the center. My preferred method is to roll once directly up, and then continue up and left between the remaining spikes. I use WASD inputs for this to make my directions more consistent, but I know that others use analog with no problem. A triple sword slash directly up also moves you the correct distance. Slashing the sword can also help keep you safe from the spikes if your positioning is not perfect. You can also move along the wall until you hit the spikes and use the knockback to line up a roll or sword slash upwards. If you want to cross the spikes, it's important to understand how spikes work. The spikes only hurt you when they first appear. After they are triggered, there is time to walk across them without getting hit. Many things can trigger them, including the fox, enemies, inanimate objects, thrown firecrackers, and your sword. I've seen multiple people use sword slashes to activate the spikes. It is also possible to roll across the spikes, but you'll need to have a very good sense of where the spikes are if you want to use a roll. There are two skulls you'll need to activate before you can reach the chest. They can be activated in either order, but I recommend activating the top one first. The direction you need to face to activate each skull is pretty lenient, but you cannot be facing away from the skull. You do not need to be standing still. Even without lantern, you can see the chest when you enter this area. The first skull is almost directly above the chest on your screen, but slightly to the left. The second skull is almost directly to the left on your screen, but very slightly below it. After activating the second skull, it is useful to stay in the lower part of the room long enough to lure the enemies down. If you can lure these two skeletons through the gap before it closes, you'll have an easier time getting to the stairs. It takes a while for the platform to move to give you access to the chest, so you don't need to rush. I usually start making my way towards the stairs when I see the platform start to move. Once you climb the stairs, you'll need to move far enough down to reach the path, but not so far that you get stuck on the other side. If you move too far down, you'll need to move to the left a bit and up to get unstuck. After you open the chest, you can save and quit to the title screen and continue to return to the start of the tomb. I'll demonstrate a few successful attempts, first with the lantern so you can see where I'm going more easily, then again without the lantern.